let's talk about subnetting. Subnetting is dividing a network into subnetworks, that is, into smaller networks. So if you have many devices that are part of the same network, you can then further divide this this network into subnetworks. As an example, let's see this. As you can see here in this image, um, these devices all look like they are part of different networks, which they in a way are. They are part of different subnetworks. But this is these are all the network addresses here of the subnetworks. But you can see here that these portions 223.1, 223.1, 223.1 are common to all of these devices. Whereas within within every subnetwork, there are different bits, that is 1 here, the 3 here, the 2 here, that are indicating different subnetworks. So the difference between these here and these ones here is just this, the 2 here, the 1 here, which indicates that they're part, that every host inside here and here is a part of a different subnetwork. This is this subnetwork and this subnetwork. So they're part of a different subnetwork. But because the 223.1 is common, they are part of the same overall network. So one network can be divided into subnetworks like this. So IP addresses of the host on the same subnetwork share the upper bits of their addresses. And to find out subnets, you detach each interface from its host or router, and basically you create such islands like this, which are isolated networks. So every isolated network is now a subnetwork. So why do we need subnetting? Why are we even doing all of this? Why are we dividing the network further? Suppose I'm the head of a rich organization and I buy a range of IP addresses, and so my mask is /8, which means that the remaining bits, the 24 remaining bits in IP addresses, are for the host portion. So I can have 2 to the 24 IP addresses, that is 2 to the 24 minus 2, because first and last is reserved, hosts on this network, which I can use, so I can use this IP address range to have 2 to the 24 minus 2 hosts, which is a lot of hosts, So suppose they're all part of the same network. So we have a gateway router here, or a router that is responsible for routing within the network, that is externally within, something coming from external interfaces to going within the network. So this router will actually have to maintain uh, huge routing tables, because it'll have to decide which output interface should the packet exit from, if it belongs, if it is for a particular address or a particular address, and so on, because everything behind this router is the actual host. So actual host here, and there are these many hosts. Oh, let me change this. There are these many hosts behind this router. So the forwarding table that routers have to maintain will be huge in this case. And not just that, the router will have to handle enough traffic for these many hosts, which is not possible realistically. A single router does not have this big of a capacity in general. It depends on how expensive you can buy your routers. That is uh, how much your router's capacity is, and so they'll be more expensive. And so this is a huge problem, that routers cannot maintain routing tables that big. And also, do I really want every device in my office to be directly accessible behind the router? Don't I want some additional security measures somewhere? So for all of this, we do subnetting. So there comes a time when a network becomes too big and performance begins to suffer. And so what we do is we take the total address space and we break it down into multiple partial address spaces, which are part of independent subnets. So this is one subnet here, this is one subnet here. So this is before subnetting, and then this is after subnetting. So this is why we do subnetting. And how do we do subnetting? We have our network identifier that we've seen earlier. That is the network portion of our IP address and the host portion of our IP address. What we will now do is we'll take the host portion and then further divide it into subnet identifier portion and host portion. So this means that the host portion has been reduced. So earlier the host portion was say 16 bits, now it's just 8 bits. And the remaining 8 bits here are used to identify different subnetworks. So suppose I had 16 bits here, and this is 8 and this is 8. So earlier on the same network, I could have 2 to the 16 minus 2 hosts. But now 8 bits of them have been reserved for the subnetwork. So now on a single subnetwork, I can have 2 to the 8 minus 2 hosts. So this 2 to the 16 in the entire network is now not possible, because now we have divided this further. So on a single subnetwork, you can have 2 to the 8 minus 2 hosts. And you can have 2 to the 8 such subnetworks, because there are 8 bits here assigned for the subnet identifier. So we divide the host identifier portion into subnet and host identifiers. And then there can be many such routers which are responsible for their own subnets. And then these routers can talk to each other, which will help us basically reduce the load on a single router. Router doesn't have to handle a lot of traffic like it would have done earlier for all of these hosts. So this loading is also now a bit more balanced. And every router that is responsible for a subnetwork will now serve as a boundary between that subnetwork and the rest of the world, which includes the other subnetworks. So these routers can serve as boundaries between multiple subnetworks. And now to actually route something or some packet that we are going to receive, we not only have to look at the network identifier, we will also have to look at the subnet identifier. So the network identifier, then the subnet identifier, and then of course the host identifier, to find out which particular hosts you're trying to talk to within that subnetwork. So because now we have to look at this portion too, we will have another kind of mask, which is the mask for subnetwork. So similar to we've done earlier, we'll have a subnet mask, which can help us identify this portion, the subnet identifier portion. And every device on every subnetwork, that is, suppose there are 2 subnetworks here, 1 and 2, and there are multiple devices here for every subnetwork. They will have different subnet identifier portions. Obviously, every subnet on this one will have the same subnet identifier, which will be different from the subnet identifier of everyone in this subnet. But every system here and every system here will still have the same network identifier portions. So now the subnet identifier becomes different. I mean, when you compare 2 different subnetworks, but when you compare 2 different subnetworks, the network identifier will still remain the same. So what we are doing is we are basically making the addresses more hierarchical. We are taking more bits here from the host identifier, and then, instead of having one router and all of these devices, we are making it hierarchical by dividing it into subnetworks which are handled by multiple routers. So everyone who is on the same subnetwork will have the same subnet identifier portion. And regardless of whether whichever subnetwork any host is in, all hosts on this network will have the same network identifier portion. So you can still communicate across the subnet, but the only time the traffic will cross subnet boundaries is when it is specifically destined for a host residing in a different subnet. But of course, communication across subnets is also possible still. So let's see how we can do this division that we've seen. So we have our net mask, which we have already seen earlier. We have a net mask which describes which network this device is a part of. And so according to our net mask, all of these bits are for the network prefix. And so these remaining 8 bits were initially for the hosts. Now, suppose we steal 6 bits from the host portion, 6 bits here, like this, to form our subnet mask. So this will be our subnet mask. And because we have stolen 6 bits now, there's only 2 bits left for the host portion, which means we can have 2 raised to 2 hosts, 2 raised to 2 minus 2 hosts on each subnetwork, because even if you have made subnetworks, the first and the last address will be reserved. So suppose there's one subnet here and there's another subnet here. Both of these subnets have the same portion, have the same bits in the network portion, these bits. So bits in the network portion will still remain the same. Bits in the network portion or network prefix, whatever you like to call it, will still remain the same. Whereas bits in the host portion will now change. So this indicates a 0 and this is a 63 when you convert it to decimal. So this is subnet 0 and this is subnet 63. So we have a total of 64 subnets here. And in every subnet, you can have 00, 01, 10, 11, 4 addresses, out of which the first and last address will still be reserved. So now in every subnet, in this case, we can have 2 hosts. Like this. So this is the first subnet. This is the second subnet. And then so on. So subnets will also have the first and last addresses reserved. And in this case, the first address will not be called network address as it was earlier. It will now be called the subnet address because it identifies that subnet. And the last address is the broadcast address for that subnet. So if I have 5 bits left here in the host identifier, now after subnetting, then I can only have 2 to the 5 minus 2, which is 32 minus 2, 30 hosts in every subnetwork. So this address, the first one you can see here, and the last one you can see here is reserved. And in this case, in this example, which is different from this example here, in this example, only 2 hosts can be assigned, that is, can exist in a particular subnetwork. And because we saw this went from subnet 0 till subnet 63, we can have 64 different subnets. So 64 subnets and 2 hosts in every subnet. So that is 64 times 2 is the total number of hosts that we can now have, which has actually reduced from the host that we could have had earlier. So let's see how subnetting affects forwarding. As we saw previously, every router does a local action of forwarding. When a packet enters the router, it looks at the IP header and it looks at the destination, that is where that packet is going to, and then accordingly it decides which output interface should that packet exit this router from. So routers always look at the destination IP address, not the host, because they are only concerned with where that packet is going, or you can say who it is meant for, not where it is coming from. And so this mapping of IP address to a particular output link, which is exactly what's happening here. You look at IP address and you decide on output link. So this mapping is done using a forwarding table that every router has. So when every router receives a packet, it will look for an entry in its forwarding table about that packet's IP address. That is about that packet's destination IP address, to determine which outgoing port should it forward the packet to. So if suppose we don't have subnets, in case we don't have subnets, then that means that a single router connected to however many different devices here will have to maintain an entry for every single host. That is, it will have to maintain an entry for every single possible destination IP address. So this will make routing tables or forwarding tables huge, which we had discussed here in this slide. Why do we need subnetting? So because that will make forwarding tables huge, what we'll do is we will use subnetting, which to our advantage. And what the advantage here will be that now every router can have one entry for a range of addresses. That is, for a range of addresses that lie in a single subnet, a router can have a single entry in its forwarding table, which will basically say, okay, I have received this packet, now forward it to this subnet. So earlier we were forwarding it to a particular host, that is the destination, and now we can forward it to the subnet router, to the router that is responsible for that subnet. And now it will be that other router's responsibility to forward that packet further. So instead of the first router having to forward it to every host, now this router will decide which router to forward it to, that is, which router of which subnet to forward it to, and then this router can take care of the rest. So routers can have one entry for a range of addresses, and this range will indicate the subnet. And then once the data packet reaches the subnet, there are more routers within the subnet which can determine which host exactly is that packet for. So instead of having a single entry for every address that a router might see, it will have entries for a range of addresses, which means that we have reduced the number of entries in our routers. So we have this address range, which you can see here. So if the address that the IP destination address in the arriving packets header belongs in this range, then it will be outputted with output link 3. So it will take this path. If it belongs to this range, it will take this path, and so on. Instead of seeing every single address, instead of having multiple output links for every single address, which was not physically feasible or possible either. Because remember, there were these many possible hosts. So by using subnetting, you have reduced the number of entries in routers. And on top of that, um, you have eliminated possible security risks too.